Welcome, everybody. Today, for the DJ Marketing School, we have a very special interview with Mr. Brian Lawrence. Brian, how are you doing today?
Great. I love talking about ideas to help my DJ community. I just like to give, whatever comes back, but I want everybody to gain from my experience and what I've done for so many DJ clients.
Yes. And for those of you that don't know, Brian Lawrence is the owner of brianlawrence.com is the name of your business, correct?
Yes,
And he
very
is
original.
and he is a website designer that works within the event and wedding space. So he doesn't primarily just work with wedding DJs. He also works with wedding venues, wedding planners, photographers, coordinators, things like that. And he is the mastermind behind the Bun DJ Company's website. And DJ's Vault too. Did you build the DJ's Vault website or?
No. I've worked with a lot of people in the vault, and I also one of the big things I did for Joe Bunn was SEO, like because we did his site, which covers 6 different regions of the country, and we designed the site. There were different partners involved, and we designed the site by committee, and the site looked really great, but we didn't address the SEO until later on, and we did a whole case study that's published on my blog that shows where we started the SEO and where it is now.
That's awesome. And the Joe Bunn website is a bit of a different monster because he is a franchise. I mean, he has multiple locations in multiple areas, so it isn't like you're optimizing for a single location. But we'll kind of
Yes.
touch on that. But I think that is really cool. But I'm excited to have you here today because we've done a lot of interviews here and we've talked a lot about different marketing strategies, making sure that you are selling on the results, making sure that you know who your ideal client is, but we haven't touched too much on SEO and the website perspective of it. So that's kind of why I'm excited to get you in here so we can kind of have a conversation a little bit about that. My first question to you, you begin working with a client and begin rebuilding their website from the ground up. What are some of the main things that you are keeping at the top of your mind as you are kind of going through that process when you are bringing them in and you are beginning a project from scratch? What are some of the first things that you're thinking about?
Well, that's a great question. Essentially, out of all of the categories that I do more DJ sites than any other. And there's a certain finite choice of different pages that most DJs want to have. One of the big things that I often change the path of from a website that we're redesigning is that many DJ sites have failed to think about trying to have different landing pages, like specific web pages for different types of events. They basically have more of like a services page or just about the DJ process page, rather than understanding that every event has its nuances.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the ultimate goal is to first is to try to create a conversation. I mean, that's really the conversion. I mean, that's selling. Most DJs are not getting people to book the date online. So they want to create a two-way conversation. And what is the benefit of a two-way conversation is that you are in control of how your potential client gets to understand your information about you. And plus, if someone is looking at a website and they are perplexed about something, maybe you have a live chat, but most people might not jump. They might just go to the next DJ. So you're
Yeah.
there to talk to them and address their needs and create the value of why they should hire you. But
I love it.
in the absence of what precedes that two-way conversation is creating a unique lens for each DJ that I work with as to why them.
Yeah.
And that is very subjective because you could ask a particular DJ, well, why should someone hire you? And of course, in general, many DJs are articulate and verbal, and they know what their sales pitch is. And sometimes that's really helpful to listen to them, to hear them, what they think they bring to the table. But I don't just leave it at that. I spend a great deal of time in studying their reviews. Like I basically have an assistant go onto every review platform and copy and paste it into a document and then study it. Because when a couple has had the experience of working with a DJ and they're so happy, the enthusiasm, the passion, the gratitude, the words sometimes that they choose, what resonated with them about the experience, the best copywriter couldn't even replicate.
Yeah.
And what we try to do is look at a lot of these different comments and do a little bit of quantification where we'll, of course, everybody's going to say it in a different way, but if we're seeing that people are really responding to a certain aspect, I mean, that's a definite benefit that is spotlighted front and center.
Yeah.
And a lot of times what's interesting is, and that a lot of DJs don't have on their websites, is they don't really talk about the experience of working in the planning process. They talk about how they packed the dance floor and played the songs that you wanted and didn't play the songs that you don't want. So that's something that we like to accentuate so they understand the whole experience. Also, another thing that I like to accentuate is the guest experience.
Yes.
I mean, this is all for the guests. It's to create they want their guests to have a magnificent time, and they want to hear it from the guests. Wow, we had the most amazing time. So how does your specific company make that happen? So
Yes.
that's a really important thing.
I love that you mentioned that a lot of DJs don't typically talk about the planning process because, one thing that I found, especially in terms of conversions, especially, is that couples don't really know what this process is, right? They have no idea because they've never planned a wedding before. And sometimes even letting them know what that process looks like, even just for you, before they reach out can kind of be that little nudge that they need to take those steps and send an inquiry or take those steps and reach out, as opposed to like, yeah, we packed the dance floor, everybody's going to have fun, but you aren't really explaining how you get from where the couple is right now, looking at your website, thinking about a DJ, to you packing their dance floor and having everybody have fun, right? So I love that you mentioned that a lot of DJs leave out the planning because I think the entire process from start to finish is important, just so that way you can kind of instill that confidence in the couple.
Yes, and another thing that I think is important to accentuate is the collaboration with the other vendors. Talking about that, hey, we're really controlling like when the cake is going to be cut and the grand entrance and also timing it with the food service. So there's a lot of logistics that the DJ is in a pivotal role in
Yeah.
that often doesn't get mentioned, that if you present yourself in a light of being really mindful and sensitive to that, to really being not just caring about the music, but caring about the whole experience from all the different vantage points, because we want the photographer and videographer to be prepared
Yep.
to be right on point to capture those great moments.
And it's funny that you mentioned that because a lot of DJs, especially DJs that I've spoken to, they say, "Oh, all every DJ does that, so I don't need to say that." But they don't, and not all DJs do that, right? So saying that can be one of those differentiating factors that encourage a couple to be like, "Hey, this guy is different." Even if every single DJ on the face of the earth is doing that, even by a single DJ mentioning that, if none of the other DJs within their market mention that, then especially from a couple's perspective, from the outside looking in, that is a point of differentiation, right? So,
No question. And there has to be an understanding that you're dealing with a revolving door of new clients
yeah,
that are engaging in something that they don't have experience with. So it has to be an elegant 101 experience. You know,
yes,
what and that and being sensitive and sharing those things in a way that helps them show how much attention to detail and how somewhat holistic you are about the whole event, I think weighs in a very positive way.
yes. Being in websites, and you'd mentioned that a lot of your clients tend to be DJs, a good portion of them. I'm sure that you have seen a lot of DJs websites, not just from the clients that you work with and you build their websites, but maybe from like clients or potential clients that reach out to you and you kind of evaluate their current website. So I'm sure you have seen a lot of kind of the same mistakes that DJs make in their website, especially when they are trying to build their own website, or maybe they have built their own website. What are some of the things that, especially if a DJ is building their own website or has built their own website, if they just had that little bit of knowledge to change a few things, what are those common mistakes that you often see in a lot of DJs' websites?
I see, first of all, headlines that are more like bragging than I'm the greatest DJ, the most premier DJ, as opposed to trying to bring out something unique about the company in that headline to grab them.
Yeah.
We have to understand that people are skimming websites more than reading them, and they're they're really looking at it's an overall feel that they get, and headlines are really important. Choosing strong headlines are really important. Uh, Imagery is really important. Having not a, a quantity but a quality of imagery, imagery that would allow the visitor to imagine them being in that photograph and having that experience. Also, not having calls to action that get people to, you don't know when someone is ready to contact you.
Mm-hmm.
Making it very easy, having menus that hover, that are like a sticky menu, so as you scroll down it's very easy for them to shift to another place should they want to do that. And probably one of the biggest things is how pricing is handled. And that is very, very unique to each individual DJ.
Mm-hmm.
If pricing, some DJs just want that they have a lot of inquiries. They don't want to waste time having that not being known. So if they know when someone's contacting them, they know the price. That's one of the biggest obstacles.
Right.
If someone is really competitive in the marketplace and they know that their prices are lower than their competitors, then that's a benefit that the price is so good. But whether you're transparent or not, it has to be addressed. So not just ignoring it is something that you shouldn't ignore it. People want to know.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be transparent and have prices, you don't want you don't want to have pricing in the center of your navigation so that the first thing they go to is pricing. You
Right.
want to at least have an opportunity to establish the value of your business and put it in context. So at least there's a certain level of interest that is already established before they get to see the pricing. And that is not hiding it or trying to make it difficult for the client. You're actually serving both parties by doing that. They understand the value with and then have the price. The client understands that. So they may see a price, think it's too high, and just leave without understanding the value. And a lot of times when a couple is looking on a website, they're looking at it very pragmatically. It's like very linear thinking. They're just reading. There's no emotion. When you're talking about the experience and they're seeing all the imagery and great content, that is evoking emotion. So letting them see the bottom line is just not the way to go. And as we know, Tony, there's also the option of having pricing, but having hidden price pages. And
Yep.
so that you could just give them an idea saying that we have some options, either, our price range is this to this, we start at, our average price is, but get them to at least contact you so you have the lead before they get all of the pricing. So that's
Yes.
definitely something that we individually surf with every DJ depending on what their needs are and explain that.
I love that. And I liked one of the first things that you mentioned, that a lot of DJs tend to have websites that kind of have more of that braggadocious tone, right? Because it it can be a little bit easy as a DJ because we do need to set ourselves apart from the competition. The lowest hanging fruit there is to just say, hey, we are the best, right? But I actually had a conversation with another DJ. I want to say it was probably a month and a half ago, and we were kind of on that topic of, ultimately, clients don't really care about the DJ. What they care about are the results. What results can that DJ provide, right? They don't care Bill from George, right? They care about a fun event or not so fun event. Now, whether or not the DJ can position themselves as that guide or that person that can get them to having that amazing event, that has a lot to do with the copy on the website and how the website speaks and how the content is kind of fed to the visitor from the minute that they come in. So I just love that you mentioned that, because that is a very good point. I do want to kind of shift and talk a little bit about SEO, because I do know that there are a lot of DJs who are out there kind of trying to like DIY their own SEO, or maybe trying to rank a little bit in order to get more inquiries and kind of grow their business. What are some of the common things in your eyes that DJs could do that could maybe benefit their SEO a little bit more compared to what they are doing now?
So I'm gonna bring up a strategy that not only could help with SEO, but also could help with credibility and conversion. If there's any DJs that don't include on their website prominently the venues that they are a preferred vendor at, is a very big missed opportunity, because we all, I mean, every DJ, it's like, I mean, they walk out of it, if they become a preferred vendor at a venue, like they're probably walking out of the venue with their fist pumping, yeah, that this is great, I'm gonna get referrals. And that's very much the case. The prognosis is it's a great thing to know that.
Yeah.
But the reality of what ends up happening with a venue and that preferred vendor list is very different depending on not only the venue, but each individual experience they have with a client, because the ultimate goal is to sell the client the venue, and that the services are very secondary.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is that, say this venue shares the vendor list, sends them an email afterwards, has it on their website. The couple might look at it quickly, but there may be a gap of time before they start looking into DJs and other services. And then all of a sudden, they're faced with a lot of other ways that they can find vendors. They could look on Wedding Wire and The Knot and go to bridal shows, go to other wedding industry platforms, look on Google. But once they come onto your website and they see that you are a preferred vendor at the venue that they're getting married at, that's a very big trust factor.
Yeah.
So that's the credibility and the conversion aspect. But then if you go ahead and create individual pages that showcase your experience at that venue, whether it's just blog posts that talk about the allure of the venue from a DJ perspective, show images or videos of you at that venue, and then try to rank for that venue by name, that you can get some really good traffic. It's not going to be a lot, but it adds up. Someone
Right.
is looking for a venue and you happen to come up decently on the first page of Google, and they see that that you're associated in the description with that venue. You can get a click onto your website that is not when they're comparing DJ to DJ. They're going onto your website because they see the association with that venue. Then the other thing also that you can do, and we've done this successfully for some clients, is we do blog posts that list multiple venues and like almost create like a venue directory on the actual blog, and trying to rank for like if you're in, we have a client in Connecticut called Collins Entertainment, who's a great guy, real professional. We're always speaking to each other. We do a blog post from unique wedding venues in CT, in Connecticut. And we did it gradually. Like we started with maybe 15 venues. We kept adding more and more. If you search on Google for that term, he ranks right on the top of Google, above Wedding Wire and The Knot. And that term is searched a couple of hundred times a month. So that's pretty, a real nuanced DJ specific strategy. But to get a little bit more general with another mindset of SEO is that when you're trying to rank for keyword terms, for organic results, meaning the regular search results that come up, you have to understand that anybody in the world with the right SEO approach could rank for those keyword terms. Someone could go onto Google and have the total desire to search when they're searching for a wedding DJ in Fayetteville, to they're looking to go onto websites of local DJs, but what they encounter is typically no DJs that come up on top. They see all of the wedding industry platforms that are spending a ton of money to get on top of all the search terms and basically intercept that traffic and bring them onto their platform to deliver them to their advertisers.
Yep.
You could also pay Google to be on top, which is expensive but sometimes worthwhile. But Google Maps or focusing on ranking your Google business profile is probably the most viable strategy, because the industry platforms and anyone that's not really located in your area cannot be included on that platform. Plus, you have more of a hands-on capability to affect positive change by yourself, because Google values getting consistent reviews on their profile. They value adding images or little posts once a week instead of like once a year, that some DJs just set up a profile and never go back to it. They forget about it. And they also put their review eggs in not enough baskets. They get reviews amassing on, say, Wedding Wire and The Knot. But say like you have 90 reviews on, well, let's say you have 100 reviews on Wedding Wire and The Knot, and you're thinking about where am I going to get my next 20? Where do I want them to go? It's not going to really, and you only have like, say, 10, 15 reviews on Google Business Profile. Those next 20 reviews could do so much more for your Google Business Profile, going from 15 to 35 than going from 100 to 120. And you could also go back to some of those clients that reviewed you on those other platforms, send them an email, paste in the review that they already left you, and say, would you mind just adding it to this profile? So being proactive, and it's not doing it all at once, it's doing it gradually.
Yes.
So just those two things, and with your Google Business Profile, could really help elevate your ranking. And you do have all things being equal, if you're located in the physically in the town you want to rank for, that's an advantage also. Like if you're located in the suburbs, like half an hour from a city you want to rank for, it does take more work to rank on Google Business Profile. That would not be a DIY project.
Right.
There's other strategies that you could be working on, but
I love that
those are main things.
I love that you mentioned that, because the Google Business Profile is one that, I'm constantly talking about and trying to get DJs to really understand just how valuable of a resource it is to our businesses. Because, like you said, so many DJs literally will just set it up and leave it there and not even attempt to get new reviews on there, or not even try to get any images posted, or not create any posts. And that is one thing that a lot of DJs can that pretty much cripple their own business, because it's really easy to kind of build up solid momentum using Google My Business, especially as a local business. It's probably, in my opinion, one of the most cost effective ways that we can just kind of build solid habits and do something on a regular basis in order to market our businesses. So I love that you mentioned that. This one might be a little specific, but it is kind of going back to when you built out and did like the SEO for Joe Bunn's company, the Bun DJ company, because they are in so many different markets. I know that some DJs are looking at, maybe potentially franchising at some point and growing into different markets. What were some of the things that you had to change or shift maybe away from, or address differently when you were dealing with multiple locations as opposed to one local business at one location?
Good question. And I have other clients besides Bun that I've addressed that with. The key thing is to have separate local pages, almost like an alternative homepage for that area, and ideally have a separate Google Business Profile for that area, and where you would embed the map on that page. And then from the Google Business Profile, you would link to that page, the local page. That creates a connection with that area. Also installing what's called Schema, which is a language that helps Google better understand your locality, that a lot of web designers don't. A lot of the things having to do with SEO for when one is designing a website is behind the scenes, as you know. And it's not transparent. Businesses could look at the website and not know if it was done or not. They just look, well, I have a number of keywords written in my pages, and that's enough, but it's not. It's not. Mm-hmm. It's actually the least important thing.
Right.
So that's a really important aspect of it. Is having local pages a really important thing. And if you're truly not a franchise, but you really want to, you find that you're doing business in an area about half an hour away, but there's no way that you're really not ranking for it on Google at all. And you're really like a full time in the business. You're multi-op. One of the best strategies that I can think of is to look for a satellite location in that area, and it could be sub renting a desk in a bridal shop, or someplace where you could have the perception not only when a client sees the address, but also from a Google perspective, that when they use their satellites and they see, oh my, oh, this is a store, this is legit, and you really have a solid location that they could stand behind ranking on their profile for that area.
It's a
So
good point.
and also if you're in a bridal shop, uh, I mean, it's also a funnel of potential clients. Whether you
Yeah.
can, you don't need much room. You actually don't even need to be there. I mean, even if you can put up a sign or something and pay a bridal shop a few $100s a month just to be like, to almost like a lot of what's happening now is a lot of businesses think, well, I could establish a box in like a UPS store and pretend that I have a location, or a virtual like a location in a one of those modular office spaces that is not really a location. Google knows that. They know more than you think. You have to really have a legitimate location.
Okay.
That would really be helpful to those people that want to
That's
expand.
a very good point, and definitely something to think about. Now, in terms of, so you kind of mentioned that SEO wise, having a interior page, homepage for each of those separate locations is key. In terms of conversions or the design of the website, was there anything that you kind of had to change that you were doing differently, specifically for the clients that are franchises as opposed to maybe like the local multi ops?
Well, it's more of just showcasing the locations separately. That I mean, essentially, the homepage is more general to the brand, but just making it easy for people to know that there's multiple locations.
Okay.
But right on the homepage, on the wedding page, just making it easy. But you can't rank a wedding page for more than one location or a homepage. And that was one of the challenges that we encountered
Hmm.
with revamping the Bun DJ site, was that everything was focused on the homepage, and it just wasn't possible to rank for different locations in one page. So we actually, for a while, I mean, they get a lot of traffic to their site, so that compared to some other DJs in particular areas, they still did okay, but we ended up having them rank. It changed over time, where instead of their homepage ranking for an area, the page that we established ranked for that area. And in general, SEO is more of like an evolving improvement. It's not
Yeah.
something that one could expect that it's gonna happen overnight.
Yeah. That's a good point. And kind of going back to that, SEO is something that can take 6 to 8, sometimes even a year to really begin seeing those results with with how long it takes SEO to really kind of kick in. When you begin working with, let's say, a new DJ on doing SEO, what are some of the first steps that you guys are kind of doing in terms of trying to make sure that you optimize that, how quick it takes off?
Well, a new business is a new business. So it's
Hmm.
really, if someone's having a site for the first time, they have a lot of catching up to do. So it's just gonna take time, but we're posting on Google Business Profile every week. We're going after getting, one of the big things also is, and this is a nice little nugget, SEO nugget, that probably most people haven't heard before, is everybody has probably heard about backlinks. Like
Hmm.
backlinks, when another site or blog is linking to you, that's like a vote of confidence from Google. And
Mm-hmm.
the more relevant the site is to your type of business, the better it is. The more traffic, also a site that gets a lot of traffic is also a vote of confidence. So you can try to create backlinks by networking with other non-competing vendors. I'll do a blog post on your business. You do a blog post on my business. Uh, Another thing that, especially businesses that have been in business for a while, they typically find themselves on blogs without them realizing it, because another vendor is, or venue is doing a real wedding blog post, and they include that, well, the DJ was this person. But you'd
Mm-hmm.
be surprised how many of those blog posts don't have a link to the website. So searching for yourself on Google and coming and finding, looking at every place that you're coming up and seeing if you're linking, and if you're not, just getting back to the photographer, whatever. Could you do me a favor? Uh, could you just backlink, make a link to my website? Most people just will do it. It was just like an oversight. They weren't thinking. They were just doing a blog post to just serve their audience. They weren't thinking of linking to you, but
Yeah.
it's a 1 second thing to go into WordPress or any control panel and just create a link. It's not a big deal. And especially if there's just for the goodwill, and you can say, hey, I'll do the same for you. But that's the easiest way to get a backlink. You'll find that just about everybody gets generic emails from Google, get found on Google, be on the first page of Google. What these most generic companies do is they will reach out to thousands of businesses just to try to see if they can get you one backlink, and it could be like a 1/10 of 1% chance that it's going to happen. But what's happening is that you're paying for the time that they're trying to get a backlink. So if you have ways that you can get backlinks without much effort, you're getting something that might have cost you $300 to get a backlink for next to nothing.
Yeah. And if you search yourself online and, like you said, you find a blog article where somebody already mentioned you but didn't link you, that's free. You just reach out to
That's
them and
right.
say, hey, would you mind linking my website to this blog article? And then boom, right? So
Right. Exactly.
that's a good point. I never thought about that, because as businesses are in business for a while, surely there are going to be certain blog posts or certain things across the web that kind of pop up for that business. So that's a good point. Kind of talking to the DJs that are maybe DIYing their own website, or maybe trying to uh, do their own SEO and kind of keeping the reins for themselves. What are some of the main things that they can do, maybe like right now, that would make a massive difference to the efforts that they are putting in?
Well, one of the biggest misses that a lot of websites don't have for mobile is click to call, click to email. That basically it you have to understand that when someone's looking on a mobile device, you want to make it as easy for possible for them to pull the trigger, and that alone sometimes could be the difference, to make it easy for them instead of them having to search or dial. Uh, I actually I have a lot of information on my blog that if you go to brianlawrence.com and you search, you'll see all my articles are not just you should be doing this, here's how to do it. So
Yeah. Okay.
to me that is really the way to go for people to really get a breath of how to really do things yourself. Like I know I want to do this because I want to be as giving as possible, because at the very least, someone is going to know that I know what I'm doing, and not everybody's going to want to do it themselves.
Yeah.
But
Very true.
I give you every option and a lot of resources. I have places where you can go and get your own backlinks. There's a lot of different things that I share on my blog
Okay.
that that you.
I'll link the blog. And one thing that you had mentioned earlier too is making sure that there's enough call to actions, because that's one thing that I see a lot of DJs miss, right? They are oftentimes under the assumption that the client wants to hire them. So they're going to scroll through the entire homepage to get to the very bottom where there's a contact form. That's not always going to happen, you know? So I love
Right.
that you had made a mention of, you know, making sure that there's plenty of call to actions sprinkled throughout this website, you know, whether or not that is a call to action to a contact form, but even just a call to action to an interior page that will talk more about or more in depth about that specific service. I think that that's a really easy thing that a lot of DIY guys miss, you know, to be
Right.
honest.
And yes, yes. And also, you also have to choose your call to words for the calls to action. I've seen a number of DJs say book now, book, use the word book. People are not, it's off-putting.
Yeah.
People typically are not ready to do that. So let's talk, just something that invites a conversation is much better uh, than using the word book.
Yeah. I
That
love
seems
check
committal.
availability, you know,
Yeah,
because
check availability is really good because that gives them an understanding that there could be a supply problem.
yes. And it's very, how would I say it? Low, kind of like it sounds a lot lower commitment too. So like it's like, hey, I'm just gonna see if they are available. And then oftentimes that allows you to at least capture their email, their wedding date, their name, and a lot of that stuff. So it it's kind of that it's a low commitment call to action that can at least get the ball rolling and kind of engage that conversation. So we're going to wrap up here in a second. Before we wrap up, is there anything else that you would want DJs to know, or maybe that they could do in order to kind of maximize their online marketing efforts?
There's a lot of things, and
There's a lot of things
I really
to
encourage
talk.
them to go to the blog. But I want to share something that really impacted me when I was I subscribed to certain, the New York Times, the CNN. I don't want to talk about my political views, but uh, I, I, but I saw an article somewhere about this mom that did a party, like a disco party for all special needs kids in their area. And I just thought about DJs and venues. What a fantastic idea. I mean, she just did it from her heart because she wanted her kid to be able to feel comfortable participating.
Yeah,
But I just could imagine the PR value that would be to bring the community together, to be perceived as a good person. So I
yeah.
just wanted to share that. I'd love to see that and done. I think it's a great idea.
And I love that too. And a lot of times, and this does kind of lead us to a conversation that happens at a lot of DJ Facebook groups where DJs will say, you know, never work for free. Because once you begin building that book of business and once you begin having some success, your time is valuable. But I think it is fair to consider, you know, what certain events, if maybe you believe in the cause, or maybe if it's something that you want to do. I think a lot of DJs that have that kind of hard mentality of I'll never work for free, we don't work for free, they are doing themselves a disservice if they aren't even considering certain avenues like that or certain events like that that could benefit the community, that could give you really good PR value.
You never know who sees that. You never know an influencer in their realm that has a special needs kids and appreciates the generosity.
Exactly.
Uh, so I just think it has to be done with a full heart, and just in general, that if you have an opportunity to be heroic, with a full heart, like just doing it for the joy and the worth that you get from doing it, uh, chances are something good will come of it.
That is a good point. Now, Brian, if people want to get a hold of you, what is a good way to do that?
Emailing me, Brian at brianlawrence.com is great. Like I'll come back with different links, show you samples of sites that we've done, give you, what I'm always willing to do is do some homework on your particular business, where we and then set up a meeting to share some insights, and similar to this very enjoyable dialogue that we've had, Tony, we'll have the same dynamic where I'm not there to sell you. I'm there to share insights with you and see if we're a good fit.
Yeah.
And but no matter what, you'll end the conversation feeling that it was a good investment of time.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Brian. That has been Brian Lawrence from brianlawrence.com. If you want to get a hold of him, shoot him an email. I will put it in this video, or go to brianlawrence.com and check out some of his work. I will also link his blog article. That has been today's interview for the DJ Marketing School. I appreciate you jumping on with us, Brian.
It's my pleasure.
Thanks. We'll talk soon.